So next, move on to understanding constraints. When you're dealing with layouts, there's a mantra that the Flutter team wants to remember. It's constraints go down, sizes go up, parent sets the position. Now let's repeat it together. Constraints go down, sizes go up, parent sets the position. Does this look like a joke to you? We're going to keep doing this until everybody's repeating with me. Constraints go down, sizes go up, parent sets the position. Okay, good. Now we can move forward. So what does this actually mean? Let me walk you through how Flutter builds and lays out the widgets. So first part, constraints go down. Specifically, they go down the widget tree. So you have a parent widget, and then you have a child widget. The parent widget tells the child that it only has 10 pixels maximum that it could be wide. So that is the child's constraints, 10 pixels. And yeah, I highlighted that this is going down the widget tree. So the parent is above it in the widget tree, and it gives the constraints downwards to the child. Again, it tells the child, you can only be maximum 10 pixels. And sizes go up. So the child tells the parent, it only wants to be 5 pixels wide. The child is lower in the widget tree, so it's telling the parent how big it wants to be. But then the parent is the one that sets the position. So he says, okay, you can be 5 pixels, but you have to be in the middle. So the parent sets the constraints. So constraints go down because the parent is telling the child what its constraints are. Sizes go up because the child tells the parent what size it wants to be. And the parent sets the position, so it tells the child where it's going to be. So in the Flutter documentation, there's a section called Understanding Constraints. And you see the same thing. Constraints go down, sizes go up, parent sets position. They have a whole bunch of examples down here, and I'm going to link this site below the video so you can go and check it out yourself. But I wanted to go through a handful of the examples. So the first example is just a container, and they colored it red so you can see what's happening. As the screen of this container is the whole parent. And here they tell you the screen is the parent of the container. So that forces the container to be the exact same size as the screen. So the container takes up the whole screen. But if you tell the container the exact size it wants to be, it tells the parent it's not going to take up the whole screen. Instead, it's going to be 100 by 100. So in the second example, you would think that since we're defining the size, it wouldn't take up the whole screen because we said sizes go up. But there is no widget tree above here since the screen is the parent, so it has to still be stretched across the whole screen. Now in the third example, there is a parent widget, and that's a center widget. So this time, the sizes go up actually works, and you can size the container to be the widget size you want. So in this case, it didn't work because something has to fill the screen. The pixels have to have something on there, right? So in this case, the center part is the one that fills the rest of the screen, and the container can now be the size that it defines. Example number 4 is using the align widget. So this is the parent defining where it is located. Example number 5. So on the container, they did a width of infinity and a height of infinity. It doesn't actually go to infinity because the constraints go down. So the constraints of this center widget get set to the width and height of the container. So the container wants to be infinite, but it just can't go bigger than the screen because its constraints are set. So there's a lot more examples, but I wanted to skip to example 24 because this is something that happens very commonly. So when you use the row widget, it doesn't have constraints this way. So you'll see this error warning pop up on your Flutter application that says that you overflowed over the screen. That's because there's nothing defining the constraints for the row. The row is infinite length. So what we do in this example is we wrap it in an expanded widget. The expanded basically says take up all the space that you can horizontally, but don't go over the screen limits. So in this case, we have a container here, the green one. It's the same size that it is, so if this was more text, it'll be wider. And then this expanded widget says this is all the width you have to work with, so fit everything within that width. And then if you put the container in expanded widget, these just set it to the equal width for each of them. So basically, since there's 2, it expands equally by taking up only half of the screen. So in this case, since there's only 2 expanded, it expands equally to take up half the screen for each piece. So that's a little bit about constraints, and if you run into some of these issues, hopefully you'll be able to understand that constraints go down, sizes go up, and parent sets position.